cultures. I believe they should be. But you're entitled to celebrate your ancestral culture as well, even though you don't want to. One day you might want to. And it's entitlement of yours. It's your fundamental human right.
I tell you what, I would appreciate it if you kept the word Mexican out of your racist fucking mouth.
Apart from the fact that it's a classically good example of the double standards on the left, where you will make common cause with a huge and well-financed organisation called the Race, La Raza. What, that isn't racist, what on earth is?
You're forgetting the context of this country in which European Americans had so much control and forced and assimilated all the indigenous peoples, including the Mexicans, to be like them. But now you're saying, oh no, let's save the European. Everything is celebrating European culture. The structure of this country is. We've been forced to do it.
It's dying, and the structure is dying.
Coming on then to the question of the rights of Native Americans under a potential future Islamic American republic, then you would probably look rather like Saudi Arabia, which is one of the most racist states in the world, where there are whole castes from certain families, certain tribes at the very top, and then you work down and you work lower and lower, and you've got the other Arabs. And a friend of mine worked in Saudi Arabia as an engineer a couple of years ago, and came back and he said to me that he was on the building site one day, and it was particularly hot, even by their standards, and he had a can of Coke, and there was another can, and there was a Pakistani labourer stood near him, and he went to give a can of Coke to the Pakistani labourer. And the Arab foreman dashed it out of his hand and said, don't ever give anything to those scum.
Why don't you go
and
there
that is how that society is based. And the people at the very bottom of it are the black Africans who live there, who are utterly despised by all Arabs, I can tell you that. And the only people lower than that are the Filipino sex slaves. And if you're worried about the position of Native American Indians in modern United States, then you should be a damn sight more worried about the position of your grandchildren under an Islamic republic, because they will be dirt, the lowest of the low, just like in Saudi Arabia.
Just like you.
Now, there's a question over here.
You are pretty sure. Answer that one. Answer that one.
I'll answer it. I'm going to do one at a time.
You had a question. Why? Because you don't want to answer the question. Because he's Mexican, you don't want to answer the question. What happened to
Can you count? Can you count? 1, 2. 1 comes first.
You can't count, he's an idiot.
In the interest of American national security,
Listen to me.
in the interest of American national security, sir, Britain is under fire from Islamic terrorism. You guys have your subways have been bombed after 9/11.
What about Iraq? What if the...
I'm sorry, but Britain is the front, is the battlefront for the war on terror. Okay? What if that war comes to our country, America again? We don't want that in here. He has a first-hand account. He has a first-hand account of what it is to be terrorized after the world has been changed in 9/11. That's not a question. He has some specialized skills in dealing with all of this. Would you agree with that, sir?
Is that Che Guevara on your t-shirt? Che Guevara was murdered and your t-shirt is not cool.
You're here to shout down American students as well.
I go, is that Che Guevara on your t-shirt? Che Guevara on your t-shirt is not cool.
Yep.
What do you specialize in?
One of those kids that nobody lives near.
Protect his nation.
You know, you've answered the question. Do you want an answer? Do you want an answer to the question or not? Right, okay, now the man over there, your Muslim friend, wants an answer, so will you please listen so he can get his answer? Okay? That'll be his answer. So my credentials are that I have a degree in history and law from a university as good as this one. I'm significantly older than most of you here, which means I see something more than the rest of you. And I've spoken to dozens and dozens of Muslims, and I have very good friends who are Sikhs, who told me the kind of things that happened in India in 1948, when Islam ripped that country apart. The academically identifiable sources are in here, but you're not going to let me deliver it, so it's unfortunate. Now, all you need to do is go on the internet and, for instance, put in the word Zimmy. You don't even know what a Zimmy is, do you? Well, you will do it, rather your children and grandchildren will. It's the apartheid second-class status of non-Muslims in Muslim societies. That's what a Zimmy is. If you don't believe me, go and look it up. Jizya, what's that? It's the tax that all non-Muslims have to pay in a Muslim society on pain of death, utterly and in humiliating circumstances for ever and a day, as part of this Islamic religious apartheid. If you don't believe me, look it up. Who's Batiyayol? Who's Batiyayol? She's a very, very brave Jewish lady from Morocco who studied the history of Zimmitude, the second-class status of Jews and Christians, in even the so-called golden age of Andalusia in Spain, and who's shown very, very clearly, extraordinarily well researched, that these Islamic societies, which are held up today as examples of peace and tolerance and diversity, were in fact based on the brutal and eternal repression of non-Muslim peoples. Don't take my word for it, look it up. Don't think this is some anti-Semitic racist inventing it. She's a Moroccan Jewess who's looked at the fate that affected her people and Christians and other non-Muslims. So have a look at the experts, have a look at the internet and make up your own minds. But approach it with an open mind instead of the almost closed mind you've got. So I would say, I'll prove how I have an open mind, that about 8 years ago, I thought that the problem in Europe was exclusively a racial problem, that the beatings and the rapes of young white working class kids in places like Keighley and Oldham, northern towns, heavily diversified, I thought this was an Asian problem. I thought it was Asians doing it, all of it.
Yeah, that's real open-minded.
And
The Chinese aren't.
I realised, not least by talking to Sikhs and to young blacks in those areas, I found that it wasn't an Asian problem. That Sikhs don't do this to their neighbours. The Hindus don't do this to their neighbours. The West Indians, as another ethnic minority, don't do it to their neighbours. The only people who do it are Muslims. And it's the same thing across the world. They gang rape girls from other communities in Norway, and in Australia, and in Germany, and in Britain.
Every culture, you're treating it as only one. You're putting emphasis on only one culture, in which there's problems in every culture. But you say, hey, this is happening here, so it must be, you know, particular to this one characteristic, this one community. So you're taking these problems and saying it's these people's fault. Rather, I mean, are you?
That would be true if I was saying that they're the only people who do it, but I'm not. I'm just saying
That's what you just said.
No, I'm saying.
You just said that. You're totally
in Oldham, yes, it's true.
yourself.
Yeah, in Oldham, it's true. In Keighley, it's true. It is. But say in London or in Central Park in New York, it may be other people carrying out gang rapes. But the common denominator in the vast majority of them is Islam. And there's a very simple reason for that. It's justified in all days in the Quran. It says you can take women who aren't Muslims, you can take any woman your right arm owns as a slave girl, as a sex slave. Muhammad did it himself. Muhammad did it himself. What on earth are you left-wing supporters of homosexual and gay and female rights doing, supporting a religion invented by a man who was a gay rapist? Unbelievable. Question at the back there.
Older man right here. Why Islamic regime of Iran, you said fascist, I believe that the Islamic regime of Iran is really fascist. Why? I think because you have the same kind of idea of that president.
As president? No, not at all. The reason that in Europe, particularly in Britain, we're primarily concerned with Sunni Islam and the radical version financed by the House of Saud, is that that's the type which is in our country, which is changing our country. We haven't got such vast numbers of radicalised Iranians, therefore it's not a problem. But as a matter of fact, I do believe that if they weren't on the point of fighting each other, that either Sunni or Shia Islam is a threat to the other communities around it in its radicalised form. That's entirely true. And I don't believe it's